Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to have the next tasting of beer number 14 in my 2-hop series featuring Cascade and Centennial. Now, this one just uses a single dry hop of, I believe it's Cascade. I guess I should have looked before. Centennial, I was wrong. So prior ones have usually used 0.25 ounces of each Centennial and Cascade 3 days into fermentation for the dry hop. But on this one, I wanted to see what just Centennial would do, so this only has one dry hop. Bottled on 10/15, 6.53% ABV. Let's go ahead and get it open. For the recipe for this, 2 pounds, 4 ounces of 2-row, boil, 60 minutes, 0.25 of Centennial, 10 minutes, 0.25 of Cascade, 5 minutes, 0.25 of Centennial. And that's usually how most of the series has gone. It's either 2 hop additions of Cascade or 2 hop additions of Centennial. Some bubble level coming up in there, not like some of the other ones. If you've seen those, if you haven't, I would go back and watch some of those other videos also after this, or stop this and go watch those. I am going to leave the bottom in it just for anybody new. I do after fermentation, I do bottle directly out of the fermenter, so just having that in there. Now we do have more bubbles in here than I thought. Usually what some of these have done, since they're, say, 5 months old, is they've started coming up and foaming up, where this one waited until it got into the glass. Off-white khaki-ish color head. From that pour, 2 fingers of head. Bubbles on the side are spread apart like dish soap, or bubble wrap, sorry. Lots of carbonation bubbles coming up, very clear. I can see the light box and the bell sticker. There is a haziness to it. I'm guessing that's just chill haze. It could be because it is overcarbed a little bit, and when I opened it, when they're overcarbed, what I've noticed, it does take stuff up off the bottom, that trub, that yeast, the hops. Because I do bottle directly out of the fermenter, I do sometimes get some hop particles in there from the pellet hops. I really don't see any. I guess there's a little bit of stuff, but they do not look like hop particles, so I'm thinking it's just the trub in there. But yeah, nice. I would say bright yellow in color, maybe a little lighter bright yellow than what I'm used to in some of these, but I do also think that is from the haze and all those bubbles coming up. Let's go ahead and smell. There is some citrus, some floral, and usually out of Centennial I do get more of a citrus, a lemon citrus, than Cascade. I usually get that floral, and you can kind of tell, or I can kind of tell after tasting all these or smelling all these, it does have that a little bit more citrus than it does floral, which it should have. I am also getting a little bit of honey, like a honey water older beer. Not as big of a smell as I was thinking from all those bubbles. The head could be suppressing that just a tiny bit. It does seem like it's a lower smell than some of the other ones that haven't had that big of a head. But for, like I said, 5-6 months old, what do you expect? Let's go ahead and taste, see how it's doing. Overcarb, you're getting a little of that grain, a little bit more of that grain than I remember. Some citrus, some florals floating in there, a little bit of bitterness on the back. Aftertaste, I think there's a little bit more like toasted bread floral than anything in there. I'm not really getting a big citrus. Yeah, you get that citrus up front. And then you get some of that floral, a little bitterness. But yeah, the aftertaste to me is more dominant in floral than anything, which kind of surprises me because the Cascade I used is a lower alpha acid. But it seems like in Cascade that floral dominates a lot. Now, Centennial is a super Cascade, so you could say even though you mainly get a citrus from Centennial, it's still going to have that floral in there, and maybe that is amping it up some. But you could also say Cascade has some citrus in it too. I think for me, not being a huge floral fan, I think that citrus is cutting it nicely. Um, it's still popping and stuff, but in the aftertaste is where I pick up that maltiness. It almost reminds me of like a double IPA. Um, it's got that maltiness without that sweetness in there, and that's kind of what I'm picturing, like a double IPA that's like half floral, half citrus, almost like if you used Cascade and Centennial in a double IPA, but just not that amount of sweetness. Obviously, if we were making a double IPA, I would think the malt sweetness would be more because we would leave more sugars, we would use more grain, that would drive up the ABV, or at least the yeast could have an opportunity to eat more of the sugars, producing more higher ABV beer. That head isn't going away. Yeah, I think I like this. I think it works. I will do a side by side. This is beer 14. I'll do the 15 side by side with this just to see, because 15 uses double the Centennial in dry hop. So I'll save some of this, but yeah, I think I like this. Nice and light, almost. I would hate to say like a spring beer because I think as your palate warms up, I am getting a little bit of alcohol out of it, a little too much breadiness, and that's why I was going with like that double IPA quality because of that malt. But I would say almost pushing to fall, this would be a good one just because of that breadiness in there. But that's just me. Everybody's going to be different, but I don't go back and watch the videos prior to this one before I do the new one. So I'm not sure how this was fresh, but I say for 5-6 month old beer, I think this is working well. And if you're new to home brewing or have been doing it for about a year and haven't played around with Centennial Cascade, definitely one to make. So if you like this video, check some more homebrew videos out over here. And until next time, happy brewing.